Welcome back to the Spectral series. This podcast looks at the unexplained, creepy things that have happened. I'm your host Beth, and today I have Jemma with me, and we're going to take a look at the Roswell UFO crash. This is one of the most compelling UFO encounters, and it's hard to deny something suspicious went down. So, Jemma, what do you think about UFOs and aliens? Are you a believer or not?
Well, I definitely believe that there's life on other planets because the universe is completely massive. So I think it's definitely possible, and it would be stupid to say that for sure you don't think there is. But I'm not 100% sure about UFOs, especially not like the stereotypical sci-fi movie type UFOs. Yeah, I think it's possible. But I would say that I think it was in the first lockdown, there were some weird lights going on in the sky where we live. So, it could be.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. I did actually attend a lecture because I was going to study biology at uni. And basically, it showed us that scientists had looked into whether it would be biologically possible for there to be life on other planets. And they actually found that looking at whether there's enough water, whether there's the right temperatures, etc., they found that on one of, I think, Jupiter's moons called Europa, it's possible that there's life underneath ice sheets that resembles that of life under ice sheets in Antarctica. So, there might be little alien squid things under the ice on Europa, possibly.
That's so wild.
Yeah. But that's, only if alien life could be not following our laws. They might not have the same requirements. So it's possible that there's life on other planets that we've observed.
Nice, so those few months of uni actually taught you something then.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so let's jump in and start looking at the timeline, shall we?
Yep, go for it.
I could go really in depth with the timeline, like who called who in the military, since all that information's out there. But I don't think it adds anything to the chain of events, so you might get muddled with all the names. But just so you know, all the stuff's out there, and it's a very clear timeline if you properly look into it. This all happened in 1947 at Foster Ranch in Roswell, New Mexico. On June 14th, the crash actually happened. It wasn't until July 4th anyone actually went to the crash site. Then, on July 7th, a rancher, Mac Brazel, went to the sheriff with a piece of material from the supposed UFO. The sheriff then contacted the US Air Force. Major Jesse Marcel was ordered to inspect the situation. On the 8th, they made a press release saying they had found a, quote, flying saucer. So this was probably the first time the flying saucer term was actually used, which I think is pretty interesting.
That is cool.
So right off the bat, the military admitted that this happened, and they obviously backtracked later on.
That's pretty sketchy right there.
Yeah, exactly. Why would they admit it first? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think we can say something definitely happened here.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if it wasn't a UFO. So after the news had been made public, the US Air Force then backtracked and said it was actually a weather balloon and not a UFO. A photo was taken of Jesse Marcel with the weather balloon that he misidentified.
Yeah, it does sound like something suspicious went down. Whether it was a UFO or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people would say that, look, here's proof that it wasn't a UFO. The debris isn't from a UFO. But you could literally just not put the debris from the actual crash site in there.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like proof.
On July 9th, a local newspaper printed an article named Harassed Rancher Who Located the Saucer, Sorry He Told About It. Mac Brazel, who was the rancher who found the wreck, agreed with the government, saying it was just sticks and tinfoil and tough paper he found. The world then forgot about the incident. However, it later came out after the crash that Brazel was detained by the military for some time. Then, after he put out the statement saying it was a mistake and not a UFO, he brought a brand new pickup truck, moved to a different city, and started his own business. So we can tell from this that he must have been threatened or bribed by the military to keep him quiet, basically.
Yeah. Full on run away and started a new life.
Yeah, so he was probably given money by the government to keep quiet, you must think.
Yeah. That is bribery right there.
Yeah, because how else would he be able to, afford this brand new truck and the money to start a whole new business, you know?
That's so true.
And he was probably fucking scared for his life and just wanted to, start over new in a new city where people didn't know about it. I don't know, it's pretty weird. So you've got to wonder, if it wasn't a UFO, why would the military go to so many lengths to keep this quiet?
Yeah. They definitely wouldn't do that much if it wasn't something really suspicious.
Definitely not just a weather balloon.
Yeah, it was definitely not a weather balloon. That is for sure.
So to me, something definitely crashed.
It could be a UFO, but... I mean, because if you think about Area 51...
Yeah, I mean, they found... Supposedly, people reported seeing alien bodies as well as an actual crash site. So it's hard to know what really happened here.
Yeah, that does sound like the type of thing that would be there.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Sidetracking a bit though, but do you actually believe there's alien stuff in Area 51?
Honestly, I think it's too obvious to actually have stuff at Area 51.
You reckon?
They don't have enough security. I know they have, jeeps and stuff roaming around, and if you're by the borders...
That's true, it's a bit obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, they'll move you on, but there are no, big electric fences or...
Yeah.
Any of that to keep you out. It's a bit... Nah, don't think there is.
Yeah, it definitely could just be that that's a distraction though. That could be their cover-up, so they've put rumours out on purpose so they don't go, people don't go looking in the right place.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They could have a secret Area 51 somewhere else.
Yeah, I read about a thing, there's a base nearby Area 51, out in the desert somewhere, I don't know, which, that to me sounds like there's more possibility for alien stuff to be stored there, and Area 51's just a diversion.
Ooh. That is sus. That could be where the UFO is then. Or the rubble.
Yeah, I think that probably would be where it would be kept. But whether or not it's kept there, why are they making such a big deal to, cover everything up? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't see why they'd make such a big deal if it's not if people are spreading rumours that it's a UFO and it wasn't, they wouldn't cover it up so much.
I agree, but I did watch a South Park episode where this is where I get all my sources from, South Park.
South Park.
Yeah, it's good.
Very factual.
Yeah. But basically the government were putting out conspiracies on conspiracy websites about the government. So they were trying to make them seem all all-knowing and all-powerful, and they were actually always in control when the government actually have no idea what's going on. I don't know, it could be that.
Oof, that's a conspiracy in itself.
Yeah, solved it, mate.
Right there. You heard it from us.
Yeah. So in 1978, a UFO researcher, Stanton Freeman, interviewed Jesse Marcel, the officer who identified the crash to be a flying saucer. He said he still believes the wreck was definitely not a weather balloon. Since then, he's elaborated on why he thinks this. Here's a quote on him talking about the metal at the crash site. "It felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about it that got me is you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't even dent it. Even a sledgehammer would bounce off it. I knew I had never seen anything like it before. It was not off this earth, I'm quite sure of. Being an intelligence officer, I'm quite familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft or air travel. This was nothing like this. It could not have been." Also, the military reported harassing locals and ransacking people's homes to make sure they didn't have any crash site debris. So they really didn't want this material getting out to the public.
Alright, I don't want to sound skeptical here, but is it possible that he saw something in the sky and like just thought that it looked like a UFO, and then when it crash landed he was like convinced, and when he saw this material that he didn't recognize, like that just planted the seed in his head like more. But in reality, like, it could just be that he didn't know the material. You know, it is possible. It could be some other conspiracy that it came from China or somewhere where they're developing new materials or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we do have smart alloys. You know, we know about that now. I don't know if they knew about it back then.
Mm-hmm.
But where you can, like, bend some, like, metal and then heat it up and it goes back to its original shape.
Yeah, that's possible.
It could be that. I don't know. I mean... He seems to have known all of the materials going on. He was an intelligence officer.
Yeah.
I also think this was, like, around the time of the Cold War. So maybe it was, like, some invention from the Russians, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like an invention he didn't know about yet.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible. It's not like he knew everything, every single material on the Earth. But I do think it's really weird, I have to say.
Yeah, that's true.
He is also kind of like putting his life on the line, coming out so publicly against the government. So he must really believe this happened.
Yeah, like, it could just be his truth. Like, he genuinely believes what he's saying, but it's not real. Like, it's possible.
Yeah, it's pretty mad, to be honest.
Or it's possible that it's a UFO. You just don't know.
Yeah, very true, very true. So for me, where we are on the story so far, I think it's a UFO. From what we've been given at the moment,
Yeah.
it does seem very possible to me.
But to be honest, even if it's not a UFO, there's something really sketchy going on there because of everything the government did. And, like, that's interesting to talk about in itself.
Yeah, I mean, they ransacked people's homes. Like, that, like, should not be allowed no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what?
At the time of the crash, Jesse Marcel said on a radio interview that it was in fact a UFO crash and he saw alien bodies. But the radio never aired the interview because they got phone calls from the FCC and a US senator which urged them not to. Now this is weird. Even radio stations just reporting on it are getting calls to like, no, don't post that. You know what I mean? Like, it's... Why would the government be going to such lengths to stop this story getting out if it wasn't like a UFO or something sus, you know?
I mean, it could be that, like, the people that are stopping it getting out just didn't want another scandal type thing. Like maybe they didn't believe it type thing. Maybe. I don't know.
I could buy that, but there's so much out about the government being, like, dickheads, you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah.
So many conspiracy websites and videos. Why...
It's true.
Why would they, like, stop this specific story from getting out so much?
That's so true.
It's really weird.
That's a weird one.
I just want to know what happened, really, at this point.
It would be cool to know, but, like, we probably never will know.
So, it does kind of lead on, but we do get a story from the government, and we do get like, we're literally never gonna know what happened for sure. And I'll tell you why in a little bit, why we'll never know what happened for sure. But it's so frustrating, man.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very unsatisfying, to be honest.
I hate those endings.
So Friedman interviewed many more people from the military and general witnesses and discovered there must have been a massive cover-up. And then in 1994, the US Air Force released documents stating that there was in fact a cover-up, but it wasn't a UFO, it was actually a secret military operation. The remains were a weather balloon, but not a regular one. It was the remains of Project Mogul. They were weather balloons trying to detect nuclear tests that the Soviets were conducting. So, to me, this is saying, don't look over there, look over here, there's nothing over there.
Yeah, so that is definitely possible. But then it is what they would say, like they would bring up a cover-up story, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to like explain it with, oh, it's just some top secret government military thing that happened and we couldn't tell you about it. Now we can, but it's just too easy, you know?
I mean, I don't know what to say, to be honest. It's one or the other, probably. Or it's not. Like, it could be something completely different. It would be a rational explanation, sorry, to say that it was some secret, like, I don't know, nuclear weapon machine or something, you know, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's possible, but I just have trouble believing it, to be honest.
Yeah. But it's weird that they would want to cover it up so much and then suddenly just give up and let everyone know.
Yeah, exactly. If this was true and they put so much energy into covering everything up, why would they then release what happened years later? What was the point in bribing all those people and ransacking people's homes, you know? Like, what was the point of it all?
Yeah.
Maybe they were doing some other shady shit, but I don't think it was the weather balloons. I really don't.
I mean, there was definitely some shady stuff going on then, but...
Yeah, definitely.
It would be cooler to say it's aliens, so...
Yeah, completely. Definitely better. So then in 1995, the Air Force supposedly released all the documents relating to the Roswell incident. It included the weather balloon was in fact part of Project Mogul and not UFO. Also, the reports of alien bodies were from parachute tests happening in the mid-1950s. The military dropped human-like dummies over New Mexico. This is what people had mistaken for alien bodies at the crash site. So first, the crash happened in 1947. So how does something happening in the mid-1950s explain anything? Like, that, it just like does not add up.
Seems like they've got their timelines a bit wrong there.
It's like the person who put this explanation together did not fact check at all.
Oh god.
So also the alien bodies at the site were described to be around 4 feet tall, and the dummies dropped by the military were about 6 feet. So there are like two inconsistencies here. The timeline's wrong, and the sizes of the dummies are the wrong, like 2 feet too short, basically, or 2 feet too long, I suppose. So the government were questioned on this, and their explanation was everyone was just remembering the facts wrong, basically, and it did happen in the 1950s, and everyone was just wrong, basically, almost like the Mandela effect. Everyone believes one thing, but it actually happened later on.
Yeah. I really have a problem believing in aliens that look like like similar to people though. Like, you know, if they're saying that these 4-foot aliens looked in the shape of a person, I'm definitely going to be more skeptical. Because I think any alien life out there will not look like us.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think aliens would look like us at all. But I haven't actually read what people have said that they look like. I just know that they were reportedly 4 feet instead of 6 feet.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it depends whether they're saying that it was in the shape of a person and it looked like those dummies, or, you know, maybe though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know really what happened, but I do know one thing. The government are definitely, like, what they're saying is incorrect. Even if what the people are saying aren't correct either, what the government are putting out is a lie as well. So that's my opinion. I just think government are chatting shit because the timelines don't add up.
To be honest, it's possible. Like, if you think about the Nelson Mandela thing, like the Mandela effect, it all started because of people thinking that Nelson Mandela died at a different time to when he did. And, like, that is probably just human memory. Like, yeah.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
Definitely.
What else really needs to be noted, and is, like, so compelling that the government are lying, is that all records from January 1947 to October 1947 have now been destroyed. So no one actually has the official documents. The military also won't say why or how the documents were destroyed. So when they released all the documents relating to the Roswell case, none of those were the official documents in the first place that actually happened when everything was going down. You know, they basically must have just made a bunch of shit up, or what was reported on at a later date, not what happened actually when it was first reported. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird, it's so shady.
Okay, that's definitely sketchy. That is weird, that.
So to me, this is like nail in the coffin. The government definitely lying.
Yeah. It's like, if it was just that documents got destroyed on its own, it would be like, okay, bit weird, but I mean, maybe. But the fact that there's so many weird things going on, and that on top of it, it's like, it's weird. It's not.
Yeah, I 100% agree. If it was just one of these things that have happened, like, maybe the government ransacked homes, but there was no alien conspiracy around it, you'd be like, oh yeah, government are just doing something shady that they don't want us to know about. But
yeah,
everything together piled up makes it really hard.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
Yeah, it makes it really hard to believe what the government is saying and believe that it was just weather balloons. So I'm just going to loop back to that photo we spoke about earlier of Jesse Marcel and the crash site materials. There was a sealed statement from Lieutenant Walter Holt, which was only to be opened after his death. It said that the photo was staged and the actual crash site materials were substituted with weather balloon materials. So Lieutenant Holt must have been really afraid to say anything if the letter was marked to be opened after his death, which makes this a lot more believable to me.
Yeah.
Why lie if you're already dead? You know what I mean?
Oh. I mean, yeah. The government could definitely do some nasty things, you know, and get away with it. So I'm not surprised he was scared.
Yeah, definitely. It's this is very compelling, and it does prove to me that the photo was staged. Also, the fact, obviously, like, people were afraid to say it out of what the government might do, but he was so afraid to the point that he wanted to do this. Maybe the government, have killed people or whatever to cover this up. You know what I mean? Like, it's really intense.
It could be like, well, I was just wondering why the government would want to cover it up so much. And it makes you wonder, like, if there's something, like, if it was aliens and it was a UFO, is, like, the planet in danger type thing, you know? And they're trying to deal with it.
You're literally so right. Oh my god. It's like, if it wasn't aliens, or if it was aliens, definitely wasn't a weather balloon, but everyone would want to avoid mass hysteria. So
Possibly.
the government definitely wouldn't tell us. I think you've, like, hit the nail right in the head there. I don't think it was just a UFO now. I think it was, like, something, maybe even if it was man-made, some sort of weapon or something that could have destroyed the Earth or wiped us out, some crazy nuclear weapon, and they're really, really trying to cover it up, because why would they care so much if it was just crazy conspiracy theorists,
Yeah.
like, talking about this? It wasn't real people.
Yeah, like, say if the world was going to end tomorrow, to be honest, I don't think the government would tell us. So, like, you know, say the planet is in danger, I could imagine them wanting to cover it up.
Yeah, you are so right. I think we just solved it.
Yeah, literally.
And that's crazy. I really want to know what happened. You know?
Yeah, like, now I think about it, I don't believe the second story they gave, because, like, it's weird that they backtracked. Like, they would just, if they didn't mind, like, the world knowing, didn't they just say it originally? So it's likely that there's a third story that we're not hearing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely, honestly. It's probably something else.
Yeah. Or maybe it's aliens, you never know.
Yeah, aliens would be the best, coolest answer.
Yeah.
There are lots of military personnel which have admitted that there was a crash and there was alien bodies. Some people have even seen them. I could list off all their names, but that's pretty long and boring. So if you want to look it up, all the information's out there and it's pretty compelling. Lots of personnel also admit to seeing the craft. In particular, Sergeant William Ennis, who was a flight engineer, admitted to working where the UFO was held. Here's a quote from him. "It was a spaceship. After all these years, I don't know how they flew that ship. There was no engine. Before I go, I'd like to know." So, many military people have said the UFO did crash and it wasn't just a weather balloon. So it's hard to argue with it when there's such a, like, huge amount of people agreeing with it and stating that they have seen it. Like, if 100 people saw a UFO in the sky, it's a lot harder to dismiss that than if just one person saw a UFO in the sky, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's definitely something to be said for that. Like, if there's more people saying it, then it's definitely more likely. But, you know, say it's people that know him, like, it could be that he thought it was real and he told them about it, and then they were like they saw him and were like, oh, he's telling the truth, I can tell, and then believed it type thing.
In a normal scenario, I'd agree with you that that's, like, so possible. But since the government are, like, out here threatening people and, like, you know, ruining people's careers by saying, like, that the craft was there, I think it's a lot to say that they just put their lives on the line, almost, out of what one person said.
True.
It's hard because you can imagine that happening, but I don't know.
That's true. But then there's that thing where, like, I think it's with, like, it's a psychology thing with, like, police interviews, where if you ask enough leading questions and you, like, feed it into someone's memory, they will actually start to believe it. So it is possible that they genuinely started to believe it themselves but didn't actually see it.
Oh yeah, there's a Netflix documentary series about that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few, I think.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually. Yeah, that is possible.
Yeah.
There was an episode that I watched where a mother admitted to killing her own daughter, and she wasn't even like in the area at the time.
Yeah, it's possible. It's just like the psychology type could be like similar, you know?
Yeah.
Behind that.
Maybe you should have done psychology at university. Damn, that's some solid thinking.
Psychology, biology, who knows?
So I think we should talk a little bit more about the actual metal that was on the craft, because there are some really good descriptions out there and most of them join up with each other. So the metal used in the craft was said to be weightless, smooth, thin, and could not be cut, scratched or burned. However, it could be temporarily manipulated. When you touched it, your skin could manipulate it, but once you let go, it would turn back to its original shape. Now, this is kind of similar to those smart alloys we talked about earlier. Do you remember doing that at school?
I probably did, but I can't remember. I have to be real.
Yeah, I mean, it was GCSE physics or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this, I've never heard of a smart alloy that did this. This seems a little bit out of world here.
Mm-hmm.
It almost sounds like corn flour, you know, when you mix water into it and you can manipulate it with your hands, but then when you let go it goes liquid.
But it's still possible that things are being developed that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, it is true. We don't know everything.
Or discovered it even.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe like you said earlier about the false memories. Maybe one person described it this way and told another person, and it all just kind of like feeded.
And then they started to believe it, yeah.
Yeah, but then I don't know how feasible it is that there were so many people that believed it, you know?
But then it might be that for that to actually, like, become a memory, it would have to be, like, intense, like, questioning and talking, like, in a police interview.
Yeah.
And, like, in a high adrenaline situation. So it might not be possible that happened. Like, I'm not a psychology professor or whatever. I don't know.
It's a good point. But, I mean, knowing the government, I wouldn't put it past them to even, like, torture people to get what they want. So, for, like, a couple of them, yeah, I could imagine this happening. But then, for the rest of them, I don't think it's feasible that they could have done that to, like, 100 people. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty mad. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, neither.
So, Gemma, what do you think happened then? You convinced it's aliens? Are you convinced that it's a weather balloon? Or something else entirely? How are you feeling at the end of that?
Honestly, I think after all of that, I think something sketchy definitely happened. And I don't believe either of the stories that have been given, to be quite honest. I mean, it's possible that it's a UFO, but I mean, I don't know. Like, if there's life out there, I don't think it would be similar to ours. And I don't know if there is life out there, if they would ever make it here. Because, you know, to be that intelligent, to, like, be able to have space travel that far, your planet would have to be around for, like, a long time. And, like, planets explode, you know? Like, our planet is probably going to explode before we're smart enough to do anything like that. And it's probably the same with any other planet. So I don't know if there is life out there, if we'll ever meet or know for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, to be honest, now I'm just convinced that there's a third theory and, like, they discovered something that was going to end the world, like he said. I mean...
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah. No, I think there was something weird, but maybe not a UFO.
Fair enough, to be honest. I'm pretty convinced there might be a UFO, but that's just me. Well, that's all we have for today. If you stuck around for this long, thank you so much for listening, and thank you, Jemma, for joining me. There are many more episodes to come, so stick around for some more unexplained creepiness.